All right, welcome, folks. Mil-Spec Ops Monkey here. It's going to be your Monday SITREP. It is 11 a.m. Central Time, coming to you from the great state of Texas. It is July 25th, 2022. Year's just flying along. So, without further ado, let's hop over the board. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and bell for notification as we get into it. Now, we're over here in Skyglass, as always. Best app on the planet. For tracking stuff, I'm telling you, this thing is, it just gets better by the day. So, all right, let's start out here. We've got a couple things we want to look at. We've got some interesting things going on down in Miami. Caught some flight activity coming in today that is definitely not normal, I wouldn't say. But we've got Air Force Two that bugged out, went to Indiana, and that we know is going to be Bob Marley. However, when it flew, it was not flying under the AF2 call sign. It just basically, and not even a SAM flight, just 757-200, blue and white. So we watched that one, but let's get into this. I want to show you a couple things here that we caught. We're going to start out with the U.S. watch list because it kind of segues into what we're going to be looking at here. Now, this is the Doomsday Bird. You guys may remember that's, and then this is actually a SAM flight, which is a blue and white as well. Little G5, actually, which is a pretty nice bird. All right, but that one, the Doomsday plane, is Titan 25, and then there is that Air Force Two bird. Of course, it didn't fly as Air Force Two, just incognito. So we watched that. I'm going to come back to these in just a second because it's definitely something not right. There's that R-135, remember, and of course the military intel bird. You can see I moused over there. That's that peacock thing. And then the Zulu 82 is a drone. We'll talk about all of this more here in just a second. But that's going to be U.S., okay? So that kind of sets the stage to what we're getting ready to talk about. So let's get into this. Now, this was what we saw this morning. Now, I've got it kind of as a slideshow, but you can see we got a C-17, which is that Reach aircraft, the big one up to the top left. And then we had a little SAM flight right behind it. And behind the SAM flight actually took the exact same track as the Doomsday Bird, right, which is the 747-200. That often gets confused as Air Force One. It's not. It's a little different paint color, but it is a 747-200. But notice that one's rolling into Miami. You got the SAM flight coming down directly behind it. All three of these came out of Washington, D.C., and then if we get into, you can see actually this is the video of them actually landing. Doomsday Bird's already down on the ground, front right corner, and then that C-17 rolls in there directly behind it, parks right beside it, and then that little SAM flight, for some reason, it just kind of locked up on Open ADS-B exchange. But that is what we're looking at. There's a little G5. It's a very nice aircraft. All right, but they all three rolled into Miami, one right behind the other, coming hot out of D.C. None of them have any kind of call sign other than the SAM deal. But what's interesting about that Reach aircraft, given that it is a C-17, that is a large transport, very typical for those to come in and be carrying a motorcade and or some kind of security detail, right? But that's what makes this thing interesting is that this is a C-17 for those not familiar with it. It is called a Globemaster, but it is a workhorse, right? This plane, just so you know, typically does carry the motorcade, right? So to see these three airplanes come in unannounced into Miami and park on the tarmac is interesting. Now remember, Trump is just probably 40 minutes north from Miami, maybe not even that, 30 minutes. If you flew him in on a helicopter, it'd be like maybe a 10-minute flight at best. But there's that SAM bird coming in right behind it. But again, don't know what's going on. Now remember, Flashbang has got the big CV-19er, and he is out of pocket. Bob Marley is in Indiana, and whoever this is that flew down into Miami, don't know. But it's not tied to like the National Convention, Democratic National Convention, or the police force stuff. That all seems to be in Orlando. Now I do know that Flashbang is actually going to be talking to them. We'll look at his schedule here in just a minute. But interesting thing. Now, this is the other piece. Let me see if we've got, as we talk about those, there is, well, currently there are 2 P8s we don't have on. Now, I've got a list. Everything's customized in my watch list. But the P8s have been going on and off. Now, there were 2 of them back-to-back flew out just as the Miami planes were landing. These 2 P8s, Navy P8s, sub-hunters, flew out right out here off the coast, and they're out there working right now as we speak. But they got their transponders in different mode, so we can't see them, all right, which is interesting. We tracked them a couple times. I had them locked in, and then they just disappeared on me. But they are still out there right off this general area, okay? Now, if you look at the stuff we have going on, we'll look closer at this. We've got Score 84 up here running routes again off the Chesapeake. These are all your P8s that have bugged out this morning. And we've got this R135 right here. That one went down to the border. As you can see, this is that little border run right down here around Juarez. Now, I don't know if that's because there's something going on the other side of the border that they clearly have an interest in. Could it be cartel? Could it be, excuse me, could they be looking at immigrants piling up? Or is there something else on the other side of that border that they are looking at? That is an unknown. But remember, this bad dude right here can track an object the size of a soccer ball from about 300 miles away. Now, the other piece, too, are the 2 E6 Tacomos that just took off out of Oklahoma. If you're not familiar with those are actually going to be your take charge and move out Navy command birds, right? They basically are talking to your ICBMs. So continue to watch those. Now, let's get into the EU watch list piece of it. As you can see, we've got that's going to be Jeff Bezos over that general region. Coming out of Paris, it looks like. And then we've got our B703, which is going to be one of your J-Stars. We've got a NATO bird, as you can see, also running that tight little circle again, man in the middle, right over Constanta. Another R135 that's working too across the Black Sea. And then let's see what we got here. That is one of your, going to be your Army birds with the 10,000 antennas on it, running routes right up there in Lithuania, right along that Belarus border. All right, so that's an intelligence bird as well. And then there's a C-135. That's actually a nuke sniffer. That's a little different than the R-135, but kind of give you a lowdown on that. Now, they are over Italy, which we know Italy right now is kind of in a turmoil because they've got the same thing. Their minister, just like Boris Johnson, has resigned, and so a little bit of turmoil there in Italy. And then there's that drone we've been watching over Portugal for a couple days now. So, okay, now let me dip on down here to let's see. We looked at take a look at the heavy lifts. Very active. We've got a couple off of the California side of the side of things. We've got one. That one looks like it's coming in from Hawaii. We've got one, looks like it rolled out of San Antonio area, headed kind of northwest. And then we've got our normal stuff. Now, Florida is action-packed this morning. Like I said, I don't know what's going on down there. Very unusual. And then we've got a whole bunch of them kind of back to back to back rolling out of the East Coast, headed westbound. And then we've got there's the stuff that's the area we're watching. Now, there is a Coast Guard C-130 that's also kind of lingering in that area where Night Watch and everything else is on the ground. Now, we've seen Night Watch roll in and out of Patrick Air Force Base. That's not uncommon for them to do that, but Miami is a little different, especially when it's accompanied by other SAM flights as well as a C-17. That's makes it a little bit over the top. So, okay, and you can see here we've got something going down here in the northern Africa. That's going to be a C-17. Looks like it took off, actually landed and took off, dropped something off. Now, remember, in Libya, Russia has a pretty big military presence in Benghazi ever since the whole Hillary thing went down. So notice we've got some activity headed north up into the Baltic region and then down into Cyprus, is another area we're kind of watching right now. A lot of activity going on in the Middle East. So, okay. Now, let's get on over to the next piece of this. Let me make sure that I hit all my talking points. Just make sure I'm covering it. Now, if we look at the refuelers, it's kind of light. We do have some launches coming out of that Kansas area again. As always, there seems to just be this surge of activity. That's a lot of fighter activity. So they're going to be up servicing probably fighters and other aircraft heading across the U.S. And then there's that one over Madison, as always, hanging out, doing some refueling. And, of course, East Coast, which is what we would expect. Got that Backy 52, and then that one again over Tennessee. Same stuff we've been watching. So, okay. Now, let's get into the meat of this, all right? Now, I did mention, I'll pop over here. This is going to be the TFR tied to Bob Marley. She is in this general area, Indianapolis. Rolled in there this morning. Interesting thing is her flight did not say Air Force Two. Like I said, it was just basically something rolling through that like a normal 757 blue and white, kind of on the DL. So we'll continue to watch that one. Now let's get over here to the volcanic activity as we start to look. Got quite a few up, actually. Notice this one up here in Russia is spewing. This one in Japan, we're going to take a closer look at that in just a minute. 5 of them here, all the way from South America up to Central America. And then we got Krakatoa and Dukono. But this one right now is really popping off here in that general. You can see the ash alert, and the same thing with this up here. Very active. We've had this kind of fluctuating between 11 and 9 the last couple of days. But check this out. You get over to Al Jazeera, you can see Sakurajima is Japan's most active volcano, and it is currently erupting. You can see the glow from that lava and then the ash spewing up in the air. And so that's what we're looking at right here when we get into this aspect. Notice it's on the south end of Japan. But again, ash alert and very active right now. All right. Okay, let's take a quick look at Flashbang's schedule. You're going to notice on his calendar today, he's got a virtual meeting with these guys, Black Law Enforcement Executives Conference. I think that's Orlando, not 100%. I did see that there was a Democratic National Committee thing going on. I want to say that both are Orlando, not 100%. I know that's not related to what we have in Miami right now, which, again, I don't know what's going on there. But very interesting. That little G5 that rolled in right behind it is very telling. And so is the C-17, the fact that you would roll in a motorcade car behind it. Don't know. I don't think that's Flashbang. I think he's still stuck in D.C., so I don't know who that is. Or maybe it came down empty. It's picking somebody up. But I don't know. We'll just keep eyes on it. But it is definitely out of the normal. I watch these things a lot, and this is the first time I've seen one where I could actually tie the 3 together, rolling in there. Like I said, we do know the Doomsday plane rolls in and out of Patrick Air Force Base. It rolls out of Tampa. We see that there's a couple of them, and they they fly around quite a bit. So, but you never see them trailed by a SAM flight, and you never see them followed by a C-17 unless it's got the president on it. So that's what makes me kind of wonder what's going on here. All right. But everybody seemed to bug out of DC early this morning. So we'll, like I said, we'll continue to watch it, see if anything surfaces on the news side that we're missing, if there's something to it or not. All right. All right. So we talk about Flashbang, then we kind of get into what he is up to. Long lines are back at U.S. food banks as inflation hits an all-time high. Now, this inflation is at a 40-year high. So, yeah, it's not good, actually. And so this is going to put a lot of people on the breadline that were on the bubble before, all right? And that's in the U.S. So when you're having these problems in the U.S., just know that the things going on in the rest of the world, it's bad here. It is really bad in other places. So we'll continue to watch that. But again, this is just kind of par for the course when it comes to Flashbang and his policy, which is basically horrendous. So, all right, it's going to be our no-tams today. Don't see anything new catching my eye other than this VIP stuff down here we just looked at. Not seeing too much. And then if we back out, now these are gonna these lines here, you see the green and the purples. That's just standard flight tracks going back and forth. Okay, one's inbound, one's outbound. This looks like they started to get that arch back up here for a couple. But again, that's going outbound, which is where they usually are. However, we've got a lot of volcanic stuff going on here. So it looks like some other routing here is more direct. Okay. Now let's bounce on over to the next one. This one caught my eye. This is an older article, but it reinforces the things that we've been talking about. Now we see the Gitmo bird coming in and out of Guantanamo Bay. We know that's the base commander, but it goes to several locations. We see it, one, Jacksonville, no-brainer, Naval Air Station. Key West. It goes to Key West quite a bit, which may indicate we've got some court stuff going on down in Key West that we're not seeing. But that bird comes out of Guantanamo Bay. Now, the other piece to this is that there is information coming out talking about former CIA-run prisons now emerging as part of the legal saga coming out of Guantanamo Bay. Now, we know about Camp 7. We know that was actually at one point, it was a classified space. However, when you start to look at some of the other data that is tied to this, what they're talking about is that the CIA has black sites, or had. Now, this is 2002 to 2006. But remember, we've been watching closely Fort Lauderdale and Opelika because the aircraft go in and out of there. They go to the spa. And my personal opinion is that those are shakedown sites, black sites. That have been utilized for quite some time. I have other reasons to speculate that, but this just kind of reinforces the fact that they do exist and that they are still very active. You just, like I said, it's just a data point, but we continue to watch it, but it just is a confirmation of our previous data points, okay? All right, now this is another one that'll make you sick. This, to me, folks, is treason, I'm telling you. As we approve the 16th weapons transfer to Ukraine, total aid now for security only is at $8 billion. Now, we've been tracking this for quite some time, and I will tell you that we know we're already well over $110 billion relative to the amount of stuff that we're sending. But this looks like we're replenishing some HIMARS because the Russians have taken out a handful. So there's four systems coming back in as we just basically blow our stuff up in the middle of Ukraine in this proxy war. Again, we just keep feeding the machine. It is only a matter of time before this bad baby comes home to roost. All right. This is going to hit home here soon enough. Believe me. We're not avoiding anything, and we're not really moving the needle much. So, but here's more. The package also includes 36,000 rounds of artillery for howitzers that we gave them, 560 Phoenix Ghost tactical drones. That sounds pretty fancy, but those are really just smart drones relative to artillery. And then, again, oh, well, here's one here. It says the latest transfer is the 17th approved White House so it says 16 in the header, 17 down here. Yeah, bottom line, folks, is we are sending our equipment over there that we may eventually need to fight this war ourselves, which is a very bad situation to be in. Short on troops, short on equipment is not a good way to go into war, okay? That's common sense. Now, here's another one for you over off American Military News. Biden admin says climate change can force military intervention. Don't think for a second these guys don't have something heavy duty up their sleeves that as soon as they pull the trigger on this, it's going to open the door to several other things, probably tied to the UN. Don't forget about all the stuff they've got relative to Vision 2030 and Agenda 21. Don't think for a second that they're not moving out to do something here, okay? All right, again, data point. Let's move this one over now. Russia informs Turkey it had nothing to do with the Odessa port attack. This was a interesting data point because they started out saying, wasn't us, we had nothing to do with it. But then we come right back over here to where they said, They come back at the, yeah, maybe it was us. We were actually taking out a warship with U.S. missiles, and they destroyed it. So again, that is the port of Odessa, and we'll look closer at that here in just a minute. As we look at the stuff going on now, this is Score 84. We've been watching this for about 10 days now, maybe a little bit longer, running routes over this general area, looking for something around the Chesapeake. Now, I mentioned before that we were talking about this F-18 pilot that actually had eyes on it and said, well, this is kind of normal. But then as I was able to pull together the other data and show them the Q4 drone that was running routes off this area as well as over this area, the nuke sniffer bird that was running routes over this area, they basically gave me a head nod saying that, yeah, I think you're onto something here. That is not normal. So we'll continue to watch this, all right, as we go into it. Now, you get over here to Odessa. This is where the port of Odessa is. As we talk about sub-hunters and everything else, remember this area outside in the Black Sea is chock full of mines that they don't know where they are. Some of them broken off their moors, and they have basically kind of floated out there. So it's a very dangerous area. But this is where that strike occurred. Evidently, we had some stuff coming into the port or in the region that was military, U.S. military weapons. So how it got there, I don't know. So if it was down here in Constanta, I'd say, yeah, I see how, because we've been landing C-17s and things in the region for a long time. Now, we may have trucked some of that stuff up here, but why would it be on a ship in the port? And how did it get there? Or has it been sitting and we just can't access it because of the Russians? So who knows, but we'll continue to monitor. Again, look at the flow of goods when we talk about oil and cargo ships in and out of Russia. Very, very active, and nothing has really slowed down. In fact, they have a better supply chain feed going right here than we do in our own country. So sanctions are really working. Now, here's another overshot. As you can see, this is a Twitter post. I'm not going to click on it, but you can see the grain going in. Notice the dude up here looks to be armed and in the general area supervising it, I guess, or watching over it from a security standpoint. But again, like I was talking about, Ukraine's path to exporting grain involves clearing mines, finding ships, and trusting Putin, which, yeah, it's not working out too well, is it? So anyway, but this is basically a map of where they see him coming into Turkey. Turkey's basically brokering the deals, making out pretty well in this deal. So, but that's not surprising. Remember, there is that relationship between Russia, Turkey, and of course Iran. So as these guys go out and get the booty, so to speak, they're going to be providing it to their friends, helping each other out. All right. Okay. Now, this one I thought was interesting just because we hear about all of these exercises going on and we look at these deployments relative to our Navy. Now, these are only the aircraft carriers, but you can go out here to Marine Vessel Traffic, which is actually marinevesseltraffic.com. And these are all of the aircraft carriers, and I can actually track every stinking one of them, which is, I don't know, it's a little concerning, I guess. But you can see this one is outside of the port of, that's one of the aircraft carriers. I don't know which one that is, but you can see U.S. government vessel. And this is, let me back it up just a touch. There's Portugal, there's Spain. So we've got them right there in that general area. But if you get over here and you hit the top, the other ones actually, you're going to see these bad dudes are up here in this general area. Let me see. Let me just get into, that's going to be the Enterprise. It doesn't want to give me good detail, but the other ones do. So here's one. This is also right up there. This is Norfolk Naval Station, another aircraft carrier. But you can go through every one of these and see that we are, this one's off the coast of Baja. Again, aircraft carriers. George Washington. Let's go see where the Reagan is right now. Off the coast, off of Singapore. Here we go. Let's see. We're going to go down one more. We'll do the GHW Bush. See where this one is. Again, inside of Norfolk. Newport News. So we seem to have quite a bit of our at least from an aircraft carrier perspective, quite a few of them still in port. So that would kind of indicate that we aren't prepping for a war right out of the gate. You know, we'll watch to see if these guys end up leaving port and headed out. But when they're sitting in port, you know that things aren't really set to go hot. If they were, we wouldn't be sitting in port. So, all right, let's get over here to the Ukraine real fast, just to show you the stuff that's happening. These are going to be kind of the news items as we. These right here are incoming missile or artillery alerts. Notice they're hitting all the way out this general area. This is Kiev here. Again, these red dots right here are Russian troops, known positions. There are probably more we're not seeing. This is Belarus. You get down here, this is the other end of Ukraine. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. But nonetheless, you can see very active. This is where they have grabbed the land. Crimea, sorry, that's the word I'm looking for. This is all land grab, and then these are artillery strikes that are reported. But again, and then this area right up here, Port of Odessa. All right. All right, let's move on out. Now, this is going to be Biggs Army Airfield. Remember, we've got an extra burst of troops headed both directions right now. We're going to be very lean in the U.S. From that perspective as we send folks abroad. But this one came in from Dallas Love Field, this Eastern Airlines flight, an arrival. I don't see it going back out on the board yet. We'll watch that. That could be immigrant related. This is Omni Air coming in from Norfolk. And then, of course, that Omni Air rolled back out of here to Baltimore, Washington. Definitely troop related, as they are probably going to fly out of that Baltimore, Washington, and probably turn into a camber flight and head over the drink. All right. This is going to be Ramstein. Again, this is our kind of our headquarters when it comes to Europe. Everything in and out of there, as well as the UK. But you'll see what we've had coming inbound. Baltimore, Washington, that's a camber flight. That's troops. This one here, also camber flight coming in. That's troops. Then we get over here. You can see it departing 777-200, destination unknown. We'll look closer at those here in a minute. There's an Eastern Airlines coming out of Baltimore, Washington. So it looks like that is troop related. So the one going into Biggs is more than likely the same thing. And then there's a Atlas Air coming in from Dover, 747-400, definitely going to be troop related. And then same with this one, Air Transport International coming out of Portsmouth. Again, more troops, and that's actually inbound right now. Okay. Now, these are going to be camber flights. Got 5 of them on the board. Notice we got them coming out of all over the place. Fort Worth Alliance, Ramstein, just taking off. Bahrain. And then we've got this one here coming out of Prague and Doha. So they are scattered, smothered, and covered. On over to the same thing from the Brit aspect. We've got 6 troop movers, very active in the area. Again, all over the place from down here in, I don't know what you would call that. This is Africa. This is Spain. This is Portugal. So in the general area. All right. And then let's go over here to the Ruskies. Now, the Ruskies were very busy this morning. They have since slowed down. I only see one helo up right now, RSD 198. Looks to be right on that border. This is the Black Sea. This is Crimea. So it looks like they are kind of coming out of Sochi, I guess. All right. And on over to this side of it. This is going to be your Omni Airs. Remember, we were just talking about this. These are transfer. More than likely, these are going to be troops, even though they don't say camber. Definitely going to be troop related, okay? So got a couple going to Guam out here. And then it looks like we got some headed from the border, which is that's going to be Biggs Army Airfield right here, headed to Baltimore, Washington. That's one we were just looking at. All right, and then the naval logistics piece is just have this one down here that came out of Carswell. That's going to be Dallas Fort Worth. It looks like it's the old Carswell Air Force Base is showing us Carswell Field. But looks like that is headed into maybe the Keys. Yeah, headed down into Key West at about 600 feet, 139 miles an hour. So it's on final approach. All right, and then we get into this. This is going to be your NASA Airborne Science Program stuff. Just want to show you what they've been doing, running some routes across. Now, I don't have altitude lines on this, so I don't know how high up they are. But notice they're just kind of running these little routes back and forth. Looks like they landed up here, took off and landed from the same area. Let me back up and see if we've got any others airborne right now. I do not see anything else, just that C-20A that was airborne since landed. All right. To our immigrant flights, only 3. There were about a dozen an hour ago, all south of the border. So this is one we can definitely want to continue to watch. Now, this one's coming out of El Paso, headed to Alexandria. That's a 72-hour holding facility. And then this one coming out of Alexandria, that holding facility up to New Jersey. So who knows? Who knows? All right. Let me back over here. Again, like I said before, we do have 2 Navy P-8s out here that I've lost track of running routes this general area. And given the fact that we've been watching the Eastern Seaboard fairly consistently over the last 10 days, I definitely think we've got some enemy subs in the region that they're out trying to find. So, all right, well, listen, that's going to be it. I will see you guys on Wednesday. Don't forget in the chat, no Q&A today. We'll be doing that on Wednesday after the fact. But we'll continue to watch stuff going on down in Florida, see if there's anything to it or not. Other than that, keep that powder dry, stay frosty, and let's go, Brandon. God bless. Monkey out. Check out the latest gear and products at monkeyworxus.com.